Israel and the Middle East. War spreading and a world at risk. The conflict between Israel and various countries and groups across the Middle East isn't just a fight between two sides anymore. It's become part of a larger geopolitical game involving both states and non-state actors shaped by history, religion, and intersecting strategic interests. Let's walk through a detailed and comprehensive update on how things have unfolded up to mid-2025. Just a quick disclaimer. This content is for informational purposes only and is not intended to support or oppose any party. All the information provided is based on open sources and international news reports. It all escalated with the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. Things really blew up after Hamas launched a surprise attack in October 2023, which triggered a massive military response from Israel. In no time, Gaza turned into a full-blown war zone. For over a year and a half, the fighting intensified. Israel launched large-scale land, air, and sea operations, while Hamas and other armed groups kept firing rockets into Israeli territory. The death toll kept climbing. As of mid-2025, over 54,000 Palestinians have been reported dead, many of them women and children, with thousands more injured or missing. On the Israeli side, more than 1,700 people have been killed. As rocket attacks and surprise raids became more frequent, the international community responded with growing concern, especially due to the rising number of civilian casualties and the destruction of vital infrastructure in Gaza, like hospitals, schools, and aid distribution centers. Meanwhile, the tension didn't stay in Gaza. It started spilling over into other areas, especially northern Israel. Hezbollah in Lebanon became active again, breaking the ceasefire agreed upon back in November 2024. After a series of incidents, Israel launched airstrikes on southern Beirut. One of the main targets was a drone command center believed to be run by Hezbollah, which Israel accuses of supporting armed operations against it. The Lebanese army condemned the attack, calling it a clear violation of international agreements. They even threatened to withdraw from the UN-brokered ceasefire monitoring forum. This raised fears that a full-scale war between Israel and Lebanon, like in 2006, might be on the horizon. In the south, the Houthis in Yemen also got involved. In May 2025, a long-range missile launched from Houthi-controlled territory hit Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv. Several people were injured and international flights were temporarily suspended. This was one of the most serious cross-border attacks since the conflict began. The Houthis said it was a response to Israeli airstrikes on Yemeni territory, which targeted Hodeidah Port and Sana'a International Airport. Those strikes killed dozens, including civilians. Israel claimed those sites were being used to bring in weapons, especially from Iran. Meanwhile, a group called Hizb ut-Tahrir said they'd continue fighting what they described as colonialism and injustice toward Palestinians. Things also flared up again in northeastern Syria, a region that's seen years of civil war. In early June of 2025, the Israeli military confirmed that a Grad missile fired from southern Syria landed in the Golan Heights. Luckily, no one was hurt, but it prompted Israel to beef up its military presence and strike back at suspected militia bases loyal to Iran. The Syrian government didn't admit to any direct involvement, but the presence of various Iran-backed militias, including Shiite groups from Iraq and Afghanistan, has made Syria a kind of proxy battleground between Israel and Iran. This ongoing tension is, well, only adding layers of complexity to an already long-standing conflict. Iran continues to play a major role, even though it hasn't been directly involved in fighting Israel. Its support for armed groups like Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Syrian militias keeps it in the spotlight. Recently, Iran even claimed it had obtained secret documents revealing details about Israel's nuclear program, though that hasn't been independently confirmed. That claim stirred things up even more, especially among Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE. While several nations strongly condemned Israel's military operations and voiced support for Palestinian independence, most have still kept up diplomatic and economic ties with the West, including the United States and Israel. These countries are also active players in international diplomacy. A major peace conference is scheduled for mid-June 2025 in New York. There's hope it might move the peace process forward. The main agenda, establishing a Palestinian state, protecting civilians, and rebuilding Gaza. But whether the conference succeeds really depends on the political will of all the involved parties, not just governments, but also non-state actors. Groups like Al-Qaeda in Yemen have started reacting to the conflict too, using the suffering of Palestinians in their propaganda and calling for violence against international targets. That raises concerns about a possible new wave of global extremism that could stretch far beyond the Middle East. What started as a conflict between Israel and Palestine has now turned into a wider regional war, involving players with different interests and motivations. Each side has its own narrative, justifications, and strategy. Now the international community faces a tough challenge, not just watching from the sidelines, but actively working toward a fair and lasting peace. One thing's clear: if the root causes of this conflict aren't resolved through fair and inclusive diplomacy, the risk of ongoing war will always be there. Civilians in both Israel and Gaza, along with many other countries in the region, will continue to pay the price of this complex geopolitical crisis. That's the full story we can share for now. We hope it provides a clear, neutral, and useful overview of what's happening in the Middle East and helps shed light on the region's